glad you joined me. I'm Denise Applegate-Schober, and I'm in front of the Regalia on the Kinetic Frame. And this video is all about learning how to get your machine and frame loaded. So what I'm going to do is walk you through the steps of loading with leaders and why we're going to do leaders and all of the ins and outs. I've done some prep work here. I have a set of leaders, and the leaders come with the soft side of Velcro attached to it. Your frame comes with the hard side of Velcro. I've already attached the Velcro to this frame. And if you want to see how I did that, watch the Getting to Know Your Regalia and Kinetic Frame video on Sew at Home, and you'll be able to see more information on loading your frame and the Regalia machine itself. I have 5-foot leaders here, and they come in a 10-foot. Now, the reason why I'm letting you know that is I do a lot of small projects. And so I took a set of 10-foot leaders, I've cut them in half. You could take it on a serger and finish this edge off so that it has a nice finished edge on it. But for small projects, it's a great way to load without having to do a lot of work. Now, I have a center line on this, and it's made for the 10-foot, but when you cut them in half, and sometimes on the 10-foot, that center line doesn't always land where you want it to. So I would suggest sewing a red line with sewing machine thread on there. But for today, I'm just going to take a safety pin and I'm going to label where that is with the safety pin. A great way to know how to marry all these things together, because what you want to do is get your back, your batting, your top all on the center of the frame to make sure everything is even. So I have 3 leaders. The Baby Lock leaders are all the same size this direction. Lengthwise, they're all the same size. The reason why I'm saying that is you may buy a set of leaders that it has a longer leader, and that one would go for the take-up rail, but these are all the same size, so you don't have to worry about it. So here's my backing, and my backing has a safety pin in it to show you where the center is. My top and the batting have a safety pin in it to show you where the center is. And all of those will get on the frame in the same point. Now here, the batting, just to show you, if you couldn't find a safety pin, maybe you have binding clips. It's a great way to clip too. You just want to know where they all go together. At this point, I'm going to take the backing. I'm going to marry it to the leader. Sometimes I do this on my couch with my husband because I don't want to lean over the frame and do this. It's a little harder on your back, so I like to sit and do it. So 2 safety pins married together. I'm going to pin from center out. My preference is a pin like this, which is called a flower pin, instead of a pin with a ball on the end. Sometimes as you roll, that creates a lump. So if you have the flower pins, for me, they work best. Some people use corsage pins. You're going to find what you like best. I have 1 pin at the end. What I like to do for a best practice is take a second pin and go the opposite way. That strengthens that end piece. So when this is pulled on, it doesn't bend that pin or come apart. Now I'm going to go from center out the other direction. You may notice I have the selvage on this. I have 4 inches extra all the way around my backing. The selvage will not be in my quilt. And so for that reason, I just left it on to give me a straight edge for attaching the backing. And we're at the end. Guess what? Put that second pin here also. Now you might be wondering how I know which way I'm going to load this fabric on the machine. Well, a couple things to know. The leader has markings on it. You really don't use these markings except for to line things up left to right. But once it goes on the frame, I could load this with the markings down or the markings up. But the big thing I need to remember is that the pretty side goes down of this backing. because if it's not down, then I've got the wrong side of my backing on the back of my quilt, and that would be for a really bad day. So here's my other side of my backing. I'm going to fold it in half. I could even do a crease with my finger if I didn't have a safety pin or clip handy. There's my center mark. Take my next leader and pin it. I have the wrong side of the leader on the wrong side of the backing here. I'm going to do the same thing here. So do this same process for both sides of your backing. And then, if you're not going to float your top, you'll attach one side of the top to a leader also, doing it exactly the same way I just did. But I'm going to show you how to float because it's going to save you a lot of time. So, I've attached the backing to both leaders, one for the front rail, one for the back rail, so that now I can load it on the frame. Now I'm done with the chair at this point, but I could bring it back in and use it to quilt with if I have a hard time standing, which sometimes it is hard to stand all the time, or if I want to do micro quilting. So know that you might have a chair that goes to a bar stool height that would work perfect for this. At this point, the soft side of the Velcro is going to go on my rail. Pretty side out. I have the rails locked, so they're only going to roll the way that they need to. Center to center, across. Center. And across, and do the other side. Now I could go to the other end of the frame and use the roller to roll it up, or my hand. Leave a couple inches here, smooth, and now I'm ready to roll the front rail. So wow, did you see how easy that was to get the backing on the two rails? Let's talk about what I did. I have a take-up rail, an idler bar, you might have heard it called a dead bar, and the backing rail. Our backing now, you see, is the back side is down, the pretty side is down, and the wrong side is up, so that when it's quilted, it will be lovely on both sides. Also, the idle bar here, this back is going to go underneath that. So let's talk about why that happens. This bar, on other frames, you might raise it. Here it has the tension and the height you need to never have to raise the take-up rail ever again. It's at the height it needs to be to do all sizes of quilts. So it's a great feature that I love to have on the Kinetic Frame. So we're going to add the batting. I have the little clip there for my center on top of the wrong side of the backing. Notice the backing and the batting are pretty close to the same size, which is also larger than the quilt top. I'm going to remove the clip so I don't hit it with the machine. Safety pin centered. At this point, this bar here is your top rail. Okay, so right below the backing rail, we have our top rail. We have another leader we could attach to this. This is a little small quilt, and a lot of my quilts, I float. The backing will always be attached to the frame. You don't want to you don't want to float that backing. That makes for a bad day, and some strange things might happen underneath there that you don't see. But I have these blue quilt clips, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach it to the rod with these clips. So you're almost ready to quilt. There's 2 more things you need to do. Run a basting stitch, sew this entire top through the batting and the backing to keep them together. Then you're going to attach your bungees. There are 4 of them. They get attached to just the back and the batting. So I'm going to attach this. You want this tight on there, but not too tight that you're stretching your backing. So probably taut, not tight. And I'm ready to quilt. So if you'd like to see how I load a very large king-size quilt or the full 10-foot frame, don't miss watching the Getting to Know Your Regalia with the Kinetic Frame on Sew at Home. And as always, happy quilting. I'm going to get this quilt quilted and another one loaded.